Hey, good morning and welcome to Living Marriage, chapter number 6. It's titled Intimacy and Joy, Simchas Onah, the happiness of her time. Here we're starting to get more into actually what's going on in the bedroom. Not that you have to be together, but here he says, the Gemara refers in Psachim that Onah is not just called Onah, in the Torah it's called Onah. It says, Sheirasa, Oksusa, Onasa, Lo Yigra. Pasuk happens to be talking about Ama Ivria, not a wife, but a maidservant. But we learn from there, the Gemara learns from there, that by a wife also you have a chiyuv midaraisa to provide Ona. Now, what the word Ona means is unclear. The way he translated over here, Ona means her time. Ona can mean a time. It's used to refer to a period of time. Ona also is used in the Torah. V'nisem es nafsho seichem, right? On Yom Kippur, you're supposed to endure suffering for yourself. Different word, different understanding of the word Ona. So I'm going to go with that understanding. I'll explain my position as we go forward. But first, I want to explain what the author says. He says that Ona is her time, and the Gemara Psachim calls it Simchas Ona. Specifically, it says when after Matan Torah, it says Shuvu lachem la'olechem. The Gemara Psachim says it should go back to your tents. It's a euphemism for Simchas Ona, to be together with your wife and be happiness. So he quotes Rav Elia Lopian that performing in this mitzvah without simcha is similar to putting on tefillin which are empty. And specifically, he says you have to provide simcha for her, right? She has to be happy. If she's not happy, it's like putting on tefillin with partials that are not inside. You're not doing the mitzvah at all. That's a very strong word. If she's not happy, you're together with your wife, and she's not happy, you have not fulfilled your mitzvah. He does bring that, it seems from the word of the Rambam, right? Ella baratzon shneyem uvesimchasam. The Rambam adds that maybe the man has to be happy also. It's not clear from the Maharal, right? He says she has to be besimcha. There seems to be a different of commentaries whether it's just she has to be besimcha or the husband also should be besimcha. It's very unclear. The author seems to say for the Rambam that it's their joy and both of them should be happy. I think that's the way the author assumes. But where you know that if it's Onah, it's her time, right? Simchas Onah, right? So it's the simcha of her time. Seemingly, if you understand, Onah means her time, so it should be really that she's enjoying it. There's no obligation for the man to enjoy it. He brings at the end of the chapter here, he says a story. Rav Chaim Brim, who was one of the Gedolei Hador of the previous generation, my Rebbe Rav Yaakov Friedman was a close Talmud of him. He asked the Chazon Ish, what is the biblical source that Chazal found to describe this couple's union as Simchas Onah, right? It just says, Sheira Ksusa va'onasa lo yigra. You have to provide Onah for your wife. Why does the Gemara call it Simchas Onah? Where do you know that there has to be happiness involved? The Chazon Ish explained that the answer can be learned from the Smak. Smak was Sefer Mitzvos. Katan stands for, he gave the sources for all the 613 mitzvos. He explained the obligation of Onah is understood from the verse that describes the husband's obligation to make his wife especially happy the first year of their marriage. From the pasuk, so you see, from the mitzvah of simach isha, which means to make your wife happy during the first year of wife, the Smak, one of the Rishonim, learns that is the source for Onah. Now, it's very hard that he learns the source for Onah is from there because the Gemara clearly learns it from the pasuk in Sefer Shmos, which talks about She'er Nasa Lo Yigra, which says Onah. It doesn't say Onah in this pasuk. Second problem is that this is only a mitzvah during the first year. You don't have to make your wife happy during the second and third and the rest of your life. Only in their first year you have to an obligation to make your wife happy. So to mix the two and to say this is the makor that for Onah, and also that you have to do a besimcha is very hard to say. But he brings a story and he brings a further proof. He says by Yitzchak Mesachek against Rivka Ishto. I believe this is in Parshas Vayetze. It says Rashi says what is being Mesachek, right? He was making his wife to laugh is being used as a term in the Torah's allusion to the couple's intimate relations. And once again, it's clear that the form of the mitzvah itself is intrinsically bound with joy. To laugh Usually people, when they're laughing, they're happy, they're enjoying themselves. So that's part of the mitzvah, to enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, you're not doing the mitzvahs. He says, that's what the author says. I basically told you it's a short chapter. That's basically what he says over here, that the mitzvah, the synopsis is, the mitzvah is to make your wife happy. It's her time to make her happy. Maybe you should also be happy. But you have to be happy. You have to make her happy. And that's a mitzvah. She has to be happy. So don't just think you could be together with your wife and you fulfill the mitzvah. If you don't make her happy, you don't cause her enjoyment to enjoy the experience, so you're not fulfilling the mitzvah. The Gemara in Brachos, he doesn't quote this. Gemara in Brachos also talks about Rav. When he was together with his wife, he made her laugh. Then he was together with her as a srachav or something like that. Then he did a srachav, his needs. He took care of his needs. So he also made her laugh beforehand. What I like to add over here, my personal opinion about what the author is talking about over here, Onah, right? He translate means her time. The way I like to translate it, I think it makes a lot more sense, is like Yom Kippur, v'nisim es nafsho seichem, to cause stress and pain to the woman. Specifically, this pasuk is actually Onah lo yikra, is not talking about a wife. It's talking about an ama ivri, a maidservant. That nonetheless, even though she's a maidservant, and when you have a servant, you can basically tell them anything you want them to do. You can't treat her so bad. You have to at least give her basic sheiraksus of Onah, right? You have to give her food, you have to give her clothing, and you have to give her Onah, meaning be together with her, like the Gemara in Ksubah says. The Gemara says, the Gemara in Ksubah delineates how often a man has to be together with his wife. We learned it out from Amma Ivriya. But just like a maidservant, you don't have to care about her wants. Maybe she has needs, but maybe take care of her basic needs. Give her basic food that she can survive on. You don't have to give her gourmet food. You don't have to give her the nicest clothing. You don't have to give her the greatest experience in the bedroom, but you have to be together with her. And usually, the way I'd like to explain it is that a man who's together with his wife without causing her enjoyment, the main enjoyment for a woman is before the actual intercourse, when there's foreplay and things like that. So that's what a woman enjoys more, the hugging, the kissing. She enjoys that more than the actual penetration, the actual intercourse. The man has a right with his wife. We're always talking about the woman. It's her time. It's her enjoyment. What about the man? I mean, he got married to her. She's, in a certain sense, a possession of the man in a certain respect. He's entitled to her wages. We learned in Masechus Ksubos. She's entitled. She has to do a lot of malachos for him, right? He is kohen her, right? Isha niknas the bailam, says the Masechus Kedushin. She's as a kinyan. She's ishto kegufo. She's not like a slave, but who's in charge? Who should be in charge of the marriage? The man. The first person whose needs and wants need to be taken care of is the man, not the woman. And to say that the whole mitzvah of Onah, which is why people get married. They get married to be together. That's the most important part of marriage. Maybe that's the whole idea of marriage. And to say the whole idea of marriage is for her. I mean, what about the man? I mean, it's not fair. People complain against, people are biased against women. They're misogynist or something like that. What about people, that don't care about the rights of man? I don't know the right word for it. But people who ignore the rights of men, and of course it's the right of the man. He has it entitled, and that's talks in the second Subos, how often he's entitled to be together with her without foreplay, right? That's, I think, is saying over here, and depends on the strength of the man. That's why the whole Gemara is talking about how tiring his malach or how frequent he's at home, because it's a mitzvah. It's a right of the man, right? He has to provide this for his wife because she also enjoys the closest of being together. But basically, the man has a right to do that. Now, to say that if you just live a marriage like that, where you're just together with your wife, and there are people that do this, I know. I don't know exact, but I know it's more common in the Hasidic world that they'll just be together for a minute or two or something like that, and just have an intercourse, and that's it. And not even in Hasidic world, a lot of people in the secular world, the whole interaction can be 3 to 5 minutes. It can be very short, a lot of times. It's not to say the woman won't enjoy it. She'll get her needs taken care of. She'll feel the closeness from the husband, but her wants, her real enjoyment is the foreplay. That's before, and obviously it has to culminate with being together, the intercourse. But that's her real want. That's her real desires. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore that. I'm just saying that the husband has a right, a certain amount of times a week, depending on his job, for that Onah, for to be together without the foreplay, because for a man, it's not so much fun for foreplay. And in order to make foreplay important, significant, it has to be. If you ask most women, they say it should be between 20 minutes and an hour. Now, when I got married, my Rosh Hashiva told me that 2 hours uh, is not a long amount of time. It's not a long amount of time. He's implying that at least 2 hours is normal or maybe recommended. I think that's extreme, and it's a sar for the man. It's a real pain for the man to have to engage to be together for 2 hours. Maybe if like the first time like you're being together with your wife or something like that, or the first couple of times in the beginning when it's fresh and it's new and you'll enjoy these things. But when you have a daily or like a weekly or bi-weekly obligation to do this, um, it's hard for a man to do that. Most men don't last that long. They don't want, even if they could hold it in. But I'm saying they don't want to spend so much time on foreplay. A man wants to just be together. That's what men are. They just want it to end. They want to get to the gemar, to the end, to the intercourse. That's what a man enjoys the most. He might enjoy the foreplay a little bit, but maybe for 5 minutes. But most women would prefer. That's the disparate problem you have in the bedroom. Most women would enjoy 20 minutes to an hour, and most men, after 5 minutes, it's hard for them. So that is why the Rabbanan instituted a ksuba, and we learn in Maseches Ksubos that there's a concept of sheira, which is Mazonos Pidal Rice, that provide her basic food that it needs, that she shouldn't starve. And then there were Masakim Mazonos to Rabbanan, Tachas Ma'asiyah, because the man gets the wages of his wife, she has to provide Mazonos, and I explained, it says in the ksuba, they sipukeha, right? Make her enjoy your marriage, to give her wants also. And therefore, Midrabanan, even though Midoraisa, technically you don't have an obligation to provide foreplay or the requisite amount of foreplay that will make her enjoy the experience to the utmost. Midrabanan, you do have an obligation to do that. Now, does it have to be every time? No, because that's what Onah guarantees the man. He doesn't have to do it every time. But if you want to have a happy marriage, you should include that. And I think the best solution to this is communication between the husband and wife, and talk about, a woman will feel insulted if you're just together with her without the requisite amount of getting her ready, of making her misachik, of helping her enjoy. Misachik doesn't just mean making jokes; it also means, the physical interaction of foreplay. So you have to make her enjoy it. You have to make her be in the mood to do it and to get her ready. A woman needs more time to get ready, so you have to do that. Midrabanan. It's not a biblical obligation. Midrabanan, you have an obligation in the ksuba to do that. And I think you can reach compromise where sometimes you'll say, okay, I'll do what she wants. I'll give her that 20, 30, 40 minutes that she'll enjoy. And sometimes the man, is tired. It's hard for him. And he has that right, midoraisa. He has the right technically. She could waive her right to midrabanan, to the foreplay, or she could say do it for 5 minutes or something like that. There has to be communication between the husband and wife, and you should talk about this, and it should be open conversation. In order to have a healthy marriage, it's really important to know this, that a woman will feel very insulted. She'll feel very cheap if you do this to her without providing or getting her ready, providing her the proper foreplay. However, because it's hard for the man, and men don't enjoy it that much, um, you have to make compromises and say, okay, a certain amount of times I'll do it with as much time as you need to get ready, and sometimes a woman will be amenable to this, and they'll say, listen, this is what my husband needs, this is what my husband wants. It's hard for him to do it all the time, and you have the right from that according to the Torah. When the Gemara in Psachim talks about Simchas Onah, the happiness of Onah, that I should provide happiness. um, I first of all, I think happiness is just the enjoyment. Simchas Onah is an emotion. Simcha is an emotion, but I think also just being together is enjoyable for both of them. Physically, it's enjoyable for both of them. It happens to be where Simchas Onah is learned from the pasuk at Har Sinai, Shuvu lachem aleichem, which is talking about where they went to Har Sinai, and talks about also going to the Beis Hamikdash. You have a chiyuv of lina and all of the regel, You're on vacation. You're going to Beis Hamikdash, Har Sinai. When you're on vacation with your wife, if you want to make vacation an enjoyable experience and want to be a fun experience for the whole family, or usually not for the whole family, you should go. I don't know. I think there should be times. Maybe you can go on vacation with your kids also, but there definitely should be times that a couple goes on vacation themselves. Most of the time, when they're going on vacation, if you go on themselves, because when you have kids around, it ruins it for the couple. Um, that's one of the points of getting away with your wife. I mean, to have a nice new experience in the bedroom somewhere else, something that you'll remember, you'll enjoy. So at times like that, you want to make it happy for both people. So it's not a time you want to enforce your rights, midol rights, to just be together without the proper requisite foreplay. So therefore, you have to make it an enjoyable time for both of them. That's why it's called simcha sona by Oalechem. Your tent in Oel, it's not a house. An Oel is a tent. It's a hotel, a non-permanent resident, where a non-permanent place where you happen to be staying for the night, but you don't live there. It's all lechem. So when it's all lechem, right, it should be on a vacation. It should be enjoyable for both of you, and you should make sure everyone is happy to the best of their ability. But when you're at home, right, uh, there's more reason for the man to have more rights over there, enforce his rights more. But again, you shouldn't enforce it against the will of your wife. You want to have a happy wife, and there should be a lot of communication between the husband and wife about this. And I think it's very important to talk about these things and to be open with each other and feel comfortable enough with each other to talk about these things. It's hard. It's hard for couples to open up about these things and be honest. It's easier for a wife to talk about it, but sometimes she's embarrassed, especially if the husband causes fear in his wife. But if you have a good marriage, you want to have a good marriage, you got to talk about these things and say when you can cut out, a significant amount of the pre intercourse foreplay, and sometimes you have to make it longer to make the wife happy. It's a compromise. You want to have a good marriage. You want both people to be happy. Definitely, the man should be happy also. I think this is a big mistake in the Haredi world that people think that it's only a mitzvah. In the Shulchan Aruch, his lashon is that you should view it as you're paying off your debt to your wife. I mean, you owe a debt to your wife for Onah, and that's what you're paying off your debt. Who likes to pay off a debt? Who likes to be in debt to pay off debts? It sounds like, and Shulchan Aruch, we had a Gemara in Adorim. It sounds like you should look like a shade, a demon is possessing you and forcing you to be together with your wife. Like you would never want to do it yourself. I think this is the wrong hashkafa. Right, the Gemara was talking after the Gemara was talking tongue in cheek. They explained in the Gemara, Ian Ben Sion in that Gemara. Really, the man is supposed to enjoy it a lot, and to mistake a notion to think that a man shouldn't enjoy it. But at the same time, you have to be cognizant of the woman's needs, and you shouldn't make her feel cheap, and you should make her feel valued and loved. Because again, at the end of the day, it's called making love. So what I would come out from this chapter is you got to have communication, you got to talk about that, and it's a balance between making the husband happy and the wife happy and keeping everyone happy and keeping it enjoyable for both of them. Hope you enjoyed today's lecture. See you in the next one.